Okay. Thank you very much and welcome to everybody, old and new. I'm looking forward to working with everyone as a team. I will say that I believe that Seguin as a township is on a roll. We have an awful lot to continue being accomplished, and we're going to move quickly through these accomplishments, but thoroughly. We're going to get into more procedures later in the meeting. We've just reviewed the little yellow hand. And I just want to remind you that to be prepared when you speak on an issue, and you only speak once on any given issue until all other councillors have spoken and you have something very new to add. I just want to remind you that December 1st is an all-day orientation for council. There will be lunch served, but it is a command performance for everyone. So I'm going to call the meeting to order and ask for approval of the agenda. You should have received an addendum after 2:00 this afternoon related to Belvedere long-term care. So with that addendum, could I have approval of the agenda as circulated? All in favor? Show of hands. Thank you. And is there, I do want to now go in to acknowledge that we are in the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe peoples in the Williams and Huron-Robinson Treaties area. We recognize the long history of First Nations and Métis peoples on this land, and we show respect to them today. We acknowledge our neighbors, the Wata Mohawks, the First Nations of Moose Deer, Shawniga, Wasauksing, Magnetawan, Henley Inlet, Nipissing, and the Dokies. In our learnings from October 21st meeting with Chief Warren Tabogadong and CAO Adam Good, I want to stress the importance of accepting our responsibility to take care of Mother Earth, her plants, her animals, and our shared peoples. We will look to each other and the elders of both nations as a source of inspiration, guidance, and the living memory of our communities. We have much to learn about the stewardship of our planet to ensure that the decisions we make today will take into consideration the future of our children and that of their children's. And with that, we move on to the business of the meeting. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof?
Yes.
Councillor Fellner?
Yes, I wish to declare I may have a conflict of interest, pecuniary interest, and related to the following matter. Item 5C, R 2022-0025-H ends, as our families have mutual business interests.
Thank you very much. When we're discussing that, you just don't participate in the conversation. You don't actually need to leave.
Thank you.
So I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby adopt the minutes of the regular and closed session meetings of council held November 7th, 2022 as circulated. Could I have a motion from Councillor Adams?
I so move.
Thank you. And seconded by Councillor Bazinski.
I so second.
Thank you. All in favor of approving the minutes? Thank you. And that's carried. And I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby adjourn the regular meeting to hold a public meeting for the following matters. Consent application number B 2022-0026-H and zoning bylaw amendment application number R 2022-0024-H for Fraser and zoning bylaw amendment application number R 2022-0023-C for Cole and zoning bylaw amendment application number R 2022-0025-H for ends. Could I have a motion from Councillor Getty?
I make that motion.
And seconded by Councillor Fellner.
I second that.
Thank you. All in favor of moving into the public meeting? Thank you. Council will now hold public meetings for proposed consent and zoning bylaw amendment applications. In accordance with the Planning Act, council will consider all matters placed before it prior to granting a consent or passing a zoning bylaw. If a person or public body who files an appeal of a decision of the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin in respect of a proposed consent does not make written submissions to the council before it provides or refuses to provide a provisional consent, the Ontario Land Tribunal may dismiss the appeal. Anyone wishing to receive notice of the passing of a zoning bylaw amendment, not owning land within 120 meters of the area to which it applies, and who has not submitted such a request in writing, should provide your full name and address to the clerk. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of council to the Ontario Land Tribunal, and the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the Ontario Land Tribunal, unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to do so. The purpose of consent application number B 2022-0026-H for Fraser is to sever lands from 548B Highway 141 and add it to the lot addition lands to 22 Fraser Road via Section 118 of the Land Titles Act. The purpose of the zoning bylaw amendment application number R 2022-0024-H for Fraser is to rezone the proposed retained lands from RR and C1 to a rural residential exception zone to recognize a reduced lot area. The resultant shore lot to be added to 22 Fraser Road will be downzoned to ensure this lot does not have the development rights of a standalone parcel and to recognize the reduced area. I now ask the clerk to state the method by which the notice of the meeting was provided and on dates on which that notice was provided.
Notice of the public meeting was provided by posting the property and by regular mail on November 8th, 2022. Notice was therefore considered to provide in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act.
Has the township received any correspondence with respect to these applications?
Correspondence has been received from the Ministry of Transportation, Ontario, and Hydro One.
Has anyone registered to speak in favor of or in opposition to these applications?
Mr. Terry Fraser, agent for the applicant, has registered to speak to the applications and is present.
Hello, Mr. Fraser, and go ahead. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm only here to answer any questions that you might have. I think that the paperwork that I have from your staff explains the process very clearly. If you have questions, I'd be glad to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions of Mr. Fraser or Taylor LG, our Director of Planning?
Yes, I do.
Okay, Councillor Collins, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I didn't see a little hand to raise there. I'm wondering where that is.
I think
Okay,
it's at the
that's-
top of your iPad,
Yeah,
but
I'm
I
there.
see you now. You have the floor.
Okay, thank you. Hey, Terry, how are you? In layman's terms, then, I guess what you're want to do is to merge these two lots with no future development. Is that correct? Basically.
Close.
Okay.
But due to the way these lots were developed, which was basically through my family a long time ago before planning rules were in place, there is a small lakeshore access piece of property that currently would have all the development potential to be another active spot on the lake. And of course, that's probably not in the best interest of us folks that live right there. It's a very small lot. And what we have proposed is to take that lakeshore chunk, tie it to our title that is nearby under a provision of the Land Titles Act, which would be the equivalent of tying them together under the Planning Act, and leaving the township in control of ever separating them or doing, separate title things of any nature with them. And that's kind of a good thing for the lake. And I think it's a good thing for people nearby. And separating the top piece will allow the existing house that is up there to carry on. And we've made a nice job of cleaning up an undersized lot on the lake without any harm.
Yep. So basically they, you want to merge them together. It's basically, that's going to be the outcome. They will be merged together. Or will they be?
Yes,
Yes. Okay, that's good.
yes, there will be a document on title that ties them together.
Yeah, not a problem. Okay, thanks, Terry.
Welcome.
Any further questions? Director Elgie, do you have anything to add?
Through your worship, nothing further to add. Terry explained it perfectly.
Thank you. So with no further questions, we will move on. The purpose of zoning bylaw amendment application number R 2022-0023-C for coal is to rezone the subject lands to an LSR exception zone to permit a cottage with a front yard setback of 17 meters. I now ask the clerk to state the method by which the notice of the meeting was provided and the dates on which that notice was provided.
Notice of the public meeting was provided by posting the property and by regular mail on November 8th, 2022. Notice was therefore considered provided in accordance with requirements of the Planning Act.
Has the township received any correspondence with respect to this application?
No correspondence has been received.
Has anyone registered to speak in favor of or in opposition to this application?
Nikki and Brian Cole, the applicants, have registered to speak to the application, and Kelly Shelswell and Marcus James of Northern Shield agents have also registered to speak to the application.
Okay, thank you. I will call on Mr. and Mrs. Cole first, if you have something to add to the staff report.
Hi there. Actually, we're going to allow, if you don't mind, Kelly and Marcus to speak on our behalf.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you.
Ms. Shelswell and Mr. James of Northern Shield, do you have something to add?
Hi, good afternoon. Just wanted to be available to answer any questions that may came up to any of the council members and just be able to provide any additional input.
Does council have any questions for the applicant, their agents, or for Director Elgie? I see none, so we will move on. Thank you very much for being available. The purpose of zoning bylaw amendment application number R 2022-0025-H for ends is to permit a guest cabin within the existing boathouse. The boathouse would be renovated with no exterior change to permit the guest cabin. The property is currently zoned SR1-32 and contains a 1.5-story garage with a guest cabin within the upper story. Sections 4.1.10 and 4.1.11 and 4.1.12 require an exception to permit a 1.5-story boathouse. I now ask the clerk to state the method by which the notice of the meeting was provided and the dates on which that notice was provided. I think someone has background noise happening. If you're not speaking, please mute.
0.1.11.
And they're hearing me.
0.1.12.
Whoever's got YouTube going, you're
1.5
going to have to turn that off if you expect to speak.
to state the method by which the notice of the meeting was provided and dates.
Okay.
Notice of the public meeting was provided by posting the property and by regular mail on November 8th, 2022. Notice was therefore considered to provide in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act.
Has the township received any correspondence with respect to this application?
Correspondence in support of the application has been received from Alan McLean Howard, Ann and Nick Friedel, and Steve Douglas.
Thank you. Has anyone registered to speak in favor of or in opposition to this application?
Tom Enns, the applicant, has registered to speak to this application and is present.
Mr. Enns, would you like to address council?
Yes, I'm simply here to answer any questions that you may have, Madam Mayor, and all the councillors.
Are there any questions from council for Mr. Enns or for our Director of Planning? Nope. I see none. Thank you. Council will now close the Planning Act public meeting and reconvene our regular meeting. I have a motion that the public meeting held for the following matters is hereby closed and the regular meeting is hereby reconvened. Could I have a motion from Councillor Collins
I so move your motion, Mayor.
and seconded by Councillor Finson?
I second that motion.
All in favor? Thank you. Got a consent, right? Okay. These are the two pieces of the consent for the Fraser application. The first, that I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby grant provisional approval to consent application number B 2022-0026-H for Fraser, subject to the conditions set out in the decision. Could I have a motion from Councillor Adams
I so move.
and seconded by Councillor Bazinski?
I second that.
All in favor? Thank you. And I have a motion that bylaw number 2022-136, being a bylaw to amend the Township of Seguin zoning bylaw number 2006-125, property roll number 4903-010-009-05000, application number R 2022-0024-H for Fraser is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. Could I have a motion from Councillor Getty
I will move that motion.
and seconded by Councillor Fellner?
Yeah, I'll second that.
All in favor? Thank you. So we move on. I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby receive the staff reports as presented on the agenda for November 28th, 2022 meeting of council. Could I have a motion from Councillor Collins
I so move the motion, Mayor.
and seconded by Councillor Finson?
I second that motion.
All in favor of receiving the reports? Thank you. First motion, the recommendation that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby adopt the schedule of regular meetings of council for the year 2023 as attached as Schedule A to this resolution and included on page 124 of your agenda package. Could I have a motion from Councillor Adams
I so move.
and seconded by Councillor Bazinski?
I second that.
All in favor of the agenda? Oh, sorry, Councillor Bazinski, you have your hand up?
No, sorry. I was putting it up to vote in favor of the motion.
Okay,
Sorry.
okay, all in favor? Thank you. I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby approve the continuation and or establishment of the following boards and committees: the Township of Seguin Public Library Board, the Township of Seguin Committee of Adjustment, Township of Seguin Finance Committee, Township of Seguin Recreation and Culture Committee, and the Township of Seguin Business Association. And that council authorizes and directs staff to seek letters of interest from individuals to be considered by council for appointment to the above approved boards and committees. Could I have a motion from Councillor Getty? Oh,
Sorry.
could I have that motion? Then we'll discuss it once it's on the table.
Move that motion.
Okay, and seconded by Councillor Fellner.
I'll second that.
And is there any discussion? Councillor Getty?
In regards to 4 of the 5, I have no issue of discussion. The question that I have in regards to the Township of Seguin Rec and Culture Committee. In the staff report, it indicates doing away with the other 4 recreational committees for Foley, Rosso, Humphrey, and Orville. And several issues. Has there been discussion with the chairs of those committees in regards to not renewing them and changing the format to go to a Seguin committee? Is my first question. The other concern that I have is that Seguin was the amalgamation of 4 homestead communities, all separate and distinct with separate and distinct histories, although there was intertwining of them. And I think that there's the potential to lose the individual identity of those 4 homestead communities. I agree with having a Seguin Recreation and Culture Committee, but at the expense of doing away with the other 4, I think that there should be more discussion in regards to how we are going to include the 4 homestead communities within that.
Okay, thank you. I'll ask the clerk to address that.
In response to the question, no, there hasn't actually been discussion with the former committees at this point.
Okay, and the CAO will go forward.
Thank you, Your Worship, and Councillor Getty for raising the question. I think as we've envisioned the opportunity to revisit the committee structure, one of the opportunities in that was around creating efficiencies, of course. But as we consider membership on that newly established committee, if that's the direction of council, we would certainly be looking towards membership from across the municipality, inclusive of all of the traditional 4 settlement areas, if you will, so that representation continues to be in place and we can share best practices and lessons learned from years gone by. So I hope that helps to address some of your question.
Councillor Bazinski.
Yes, I would tend to support Councillor Getty on the retention of local recreation committees. I have some personal experience in it, in that my daughter was on the Humphrey Recreational Committee, and it was comprised of local community people. And there are some recreation functions that I think are Seguin wide, but for some of the functions that the committee had, it was more on a local level, and it was a good way of getting community people together. That was just my observation. Thank you.
Thank you. I do have to point out that the Humphrey Recreation Committee has not been meeting and couldn't get enough members. And I believe that has been true in, to a certain extent, in Rosso and in Orville as well. Councillor Fellner, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I think, point taken with Councillor Getty. I had the same sort of concern myself, that how do you better organize something to leverage the knowledge in the township as a whole, but still allow the historical sub-communities to retain their identities. And I'm just wondering if that can't be done through subcommittees, maybe a subcommittee structure where some of the activities that go on in, like, for example, in Rosso, would continue, but and maybe organized through a subcommittee of this larger committee. Yet there would be expertise available, across the whole area. I mean, I think the idea is a very good one, and I think we need to, either I'm not sure what, do you strike the committee and then let the committee organize their structure afterwards, or how it goes? But I agree with you. You don't want to lose that identity, but then again, you want to pull together as one community.
Thank you. I'm going to call on the CAO to respond a little bit. I see Councillor Getty and Councillor Bazinski still have, Councillor Bazinski's hands down. Councillor Getty, your hand is still up. You will be acknowledged after the other councillors have all had an opportunity to speak if you wish to speak again. So, Jason.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. And just to piggyback perhaps on some comments from Councillor Fellner, I agree that there is an opportunity to establish subcommittees that could have a unique focus on the specific settlement areas. One of the first tasks of any of our committees is to review, and in this case could be to frankly establish terms of reference for their own committee for the term of council. And, it would be something that staff would encourage the new committee, if that was the direction that council wished, to spend some time and really evaluate what the terms of reference are and how the internal structure could be built to support our settlement areas, our community of communities, if you will, but also to ensure that from a staffing perspective, from an efficiency perspective, that we're not, to be really blunt about it, clerking 4 different meetings, putting together 4 different minutes of meetings, staff overtime to support those meetings. These are some of those efficiencies that we think we can capitalize on. But again, I would suggest that a committee's terms of reference would be a very good starting point, and would encourage a newly established or any established committees to review those terms of reference and identify their pathway forward.
Thank you. Councillor Finson, you're next.
I would just like to say, I think it's a really good idea to have a focus on a central committee where everybody is together. For instance, Dominique gets to know what everybody's doing. Her staff gets to know what everybody's doing. And it's not to take away from the communities. I believe it is to build better communities. You would still have, for instance, your Easter egg hunt in Foley, and you would still have your whatever it is in Christie, because that's the point of it. You all to get together with the director of Parks and Recreation, with Dominique, and say when you're having this, do a calendar so that everybody knows everything. I think it could be a really positive thing, and the volunteers are the ones that do all the work from the very get-go. So they're the ones that will do the organizing and the presenting to the staff what they want to do. So it's not taking away from them. It's just making it less cumbersome and having to meet every month. I mean, I know I was on the Rosso Recreation, and it wasn't really a recreation committee. It was a community action committee, which didn't have anything to do with recreation, basically. It was about actions that they wanted to happen, like, for instance, bathrooms in Rosso, things like that. So those will now be able to be encumbered on with the business association, which is a perfect spot for them. So really, we had to cancel a lot of meetings because summer times are very busy and nobody wants to meet in the summer. And I think having one central place to meet where everybody can get, all their ideas together is a fabulous idea. And it could be a very positive way forward for everybody to get what they want and their communities be identified, but also be included in the other communities. Rosso doesn't do anything that doesn't include all of Seguin. They don't. Nothing that they do in Rosso, none of the events that are held there are held for Rosso. They're held for the entire Seguin Township. For instance, the Pumpkin Festival, the dog sled run is Humphrey, but it ends up in Rosso. I mean, all of those things are held for the entire community. And I think that this is a good way to bring some of the other events to the rest of the communities as well, not just in Foley or wherever they happen to be located. I think this is a good way to let everybody know what's going on with all of the settlement areas. And I think it could be a really positive thing. And maybe, just maybe, you'll get more ideas for each of the communities out of meeting all together as having a representative from each meeting with Dominique and getting the calendars done that way. Anyway, that's my opinion. I think it'll be a really good idea. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Finson. Councillor Collins, you're next.
Thank you, Mayor. I think this is still, if I don't mind, this question going to our CIO, this is still a work in progress. Basically, to set up an internal structure. Is this basically what you're thinking of doing? Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Collins. It is certainly what we're putting in front of council is what we are recommending as a committee structure. But to your point, there is a ton of work to be done once we advertise and see who's coming, putting their hand up and saying, I'm interested in volunteering, I'm interested in being a part of that committee, and finding out what we have for volunteers. And then getting down to the real work is once we've appointed those volunteers to the committees of establishing the terms of reference, their mandates, reporting structures, commitments to council, et cetera. So to some extent, you're correct. We are at the early stages here, but we are recommending a bit of a different direction than what we've seen historically.
Yes, our Orville Recreation Committee has done a number of certain events as Children's Christmas Party, which is coming up next month. Their Easter party, Halloween party, Canada's Day celebration, fireworks at the ballpark. These events will not be taken away from the Orville area. I could see that as long as these events do occur, as long as these events take place, they would have to, I guess, coordinate with all the other different with Rosso and Foley and Humphrey, so that certain events aren't on the same day. Obviously, I could see something good coming out of this, and that's added volunteers, because if this is going to be set up where there's 3 or 4 committee members from each settlement area blended into one, then when an event is occurring at say Rosso or wherever, then they could get volunteers from that committee. This is what I'm thinking, that this could actually work in favor with a single entity. So as long, and as long as in each individual area or ward that they keep their monies that they've already raised, that they could put those monies towards their events. So you're working within an umbrella of Seguin Township. That's what I'm thinking that is the way this is going to go.
I think, well, I'll ask the CAO to give his opinion here. He's the one that's worked with staff on this.
Thank you, Worship, and Councillor Collins. I think you hit the nail right on the head, where there is no desire from staff or from anyone to reduce or take away any of the events that have historically made Seguin what Seguin is and made the communities within Seguin what they are. What we're doing here is creating that umbrella that oversees the entire township. It allows for more coordination and allocation of resources to be able to perhaps even enhance the programs and events that we've done historically. And I think, one of the keys to success of this is that, to use an example, in Orville, they do a wonderful job with the fireworks displays, and there's a lot of really valuable lessons learned from those events that perhaps can be transferred over to an event in Humphrey or an event in Foley or an event in Rosso. And by having coordinated staffing or coordinated volunteer resources working on Seguin-wide events, I think there's an opportunity for us to actually enhance the community experience and ensure that we deliver on not only what we've done historically, but perhaps even some new ventures into the future.
Thank you for that, Jason. I just want to say one more thing is that this year, all the committees and all the boards were dissolved on November the 15th. And if it wasn't for Seguin coming to the plate, there wouldn't have been a Christmas party this year for the kids in Orville. So that is going ahead, and that's one of the good things that will, I guess, enhance the entire municipality if we're all together as one.
Thank you, Councillor Collins. Councillor Adams.
I think it's all been answered. No, I remember back in the day when they amalgamated, Seguin wanted one identity, and which I thought was a great idea too. And I knew there was always going to be these other areas. And I think they could form that committee through just the Seguin and then have your subcommittees. But I think it's a great idea myself.
Thank you. Councillor Getty, you have something new to add?
I don't disagree with the concept of a Seguin Rec and Culture Committee. I think that taking away the individual identity could be dangerous from a volunteer perspective, because a lot of people that volunteer in their specific communities may very well not go and volunteer cross-settlement area. So I think that by eliminating, I don't disagree, Jason, in regards to the demands upon staff. I think that when you have 4 committees and the potential for 12 meetings a year for each of those committees, that requires staff to be dealing with 48 separate committees. I think that the question I have is that there are responsibility on council to streamline those committees, to maybe go to quarterly meetings. And from those, and I only throw it out for discussion, from the 4 homestead committees, if all 4 participate, that the chair and vice chair of those committees could form the Seguin Rec and Cultural Committee to then be able to try to move those across. I do agree that there's a benefit in Seguin having township initiatives, but I think the doing it backwards by not renewing those, forming a Seguin committee, and then hoping that we have subcommittees and participation from those subcommittees. I think we have to be careful.
Thank you very much. The process would be that we would do a call for volunteers. The volunteers would then draft terms of reference, which would come back to council for approval. So if the terms of reference recognize our 4 settlement areas and the individual events that have grown up there, I think there is another step for council to insist that happen. I do have to point out that in the 4 years that I've been sitting in this chair, the volunteers have disappeared. We have several that are not council meetings that are not happening at all. I think we need to have some sort of a push to get some more volunteers, but I also hope some younger volunteers who have families. I mean, I was disappointed to see that we didn't have the Halloween haunt this year following COVID, because it was an enormous Seguin-wide event, but there were no volunteers to do it. So I think there's an opportunity for the terms of reference to come back to us. Councillor Finson, you're next.
I just wanted to say, through you, the mayor, that we weren't asking for volunteers to volunteer for everybody. I think the volunteers will still volunteer where they were volunteering, but that our expectation isn't that all the Foley people will come and volunteer in Rosso. That wasn't the expectation. We hope that the same volunteers will do the same events. That's what I think is happening. That's what I think they're trying to suggest, is that we just have one meeting place. Everybody goes to one place and tells us what they're doing, tells Dominique what they're doing and when they're doing it and how many of these things they're doing. And I think that it might even be more financially beneficial to have it all out of one place. Because as it is right now, there's 6 people on each of those committees that gets paid $60 a meeting as well. So financially, that money could go directly into the event that they're holding in their communities. I don't know, it just might be an easier way to do more and put in less effort. Instead of meeting every month to do it, you meet a couple of times with, or however many, I don't know what the structure is going to be, but the meeting would be for each community to come and say what they're doing. And the same volunteers would be, I would hope, recruited to do the things that they do all of the time. So, I mean, I don't think the idea is to ask the volunteers to work in every community, still to work in their own, but it would be nice if some of them take a liking to one of the events and decided they would help out there too. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Thanks.
Thank you. I recognize, Councillor Getty, that you have your hand up again. If you have something different to add, that's fine. And then we will call the discussion and call a vote on this. But if you have something different to add than you've said before, go ahead.
The only thing that I have to add that's different, Madam Mayor, is that I think in any community participation, there are always a limited number of volunteers, and often it's the same people that are participating. But I think coming through COVID, I think to blame a lack of volunteers, we have to be careful. And I think the fact that the world has gone to Zoom, and in fact, we have been participating as a council and the previous council through Zoom, there has been very little opportunity to, there's been limited opportunity, I believe, to recruit those volunteers. So.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody, for weighing in. I know you all care deeply about Seguin as a township and your settlement areas to which you associate. I'm going to call for a vote now. All in favor of approving the following boards and committees. The terms of reference will come back to council for each of these. All in favor. So Mario, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's unanimous. Thank you very much. That's carried. I have a motion that, as per the recommendation of staff report number TR 2022-014, the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby approve in principle the proposed increases for various fees and charges effective January 1, 2023. And that staff are hereby authorized and directed to commence the public notice process and prepare bylaws to implement the proposed changes for consideration at a future meeting of council. And further, that staff include these proposed amendments in the 2023 budget. Could I have a motion from Councillor Collins?
I still move the motion, Mayor.
And seconded by Councillor Finson.
I second that.
All in favor of the proposed increases? Is there any discussion? Okay. Thank you. That's carried. And I have a recommendation that, as per the recommendation of staff report number TR 2022-016, the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby approve in principle the proposed procurement policy and authorize and direct staff to commence the public notice process and prepare the appropriate bylaw to implement the proposed policy for consideration at a future meeting of council. Could I have a motion from Councillor Adams?
I so move.
And seconded by Councillor Basinski.
Yeah, I second that.
Treasurer Fraser, do you want to tell us about it?
The report itself is fairly self-explanatory. Our procurement policy is 11 years old. It's clunky, it's outdated, it's difficult to work with. So with the Finance Committee, the CAO and I have been working on this for a number of years. It's gone through our auditors, KPMG, and we think that this is a much more efficient, much more relevant and useful document that we'll be able to bring forward.
Does council have any questions of Ms. Fraser? It's a lot of reading, but it sure looks easier than it used to. Councillor Collins. Oh, I think you're on mute, Ted.
Yes, I was. Thank you. I was just looking at some of the major changes, Schedule B for the procurement. You go from 3 to 10, which is cool, which is good. I mean, 3 to 10 for the directors to do. That's up to them. But then, and then from 30 to 50. So what happens between 15, 20, 25? Shouldn't it be 3 to 30 and then 30 to 50? Or I'm just wondering why. So what happens if it's 20 grand is what I'm saying. If it was $20,000,
yep.
Where would that number lie?
So I'm just trying to find the right page.
Sorry. Let me see where I am at. 146, I believe.
So anywhere, so under 10 is directors. That's their prerogative.
Yeah, I got that. I got that.
So then from 10 to 50, 3 written quotes, and then greater than 50 is an open competition, request for tender, request for proposal. And that's for basically regular procurement.
Okay, so anything from 50, and I'm going to say anything higher than 10 grand will be either go through a proposal or a tender. Is that correct?
That's correct. The only time that you might have a sole source, and there is stuff in here, there's words here dealing with sole source, you have to go through a specific process. So.
Okay. Oh. Thanks, Michelle.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? All in favor of approving the procurement? Oops, oh, sorry, Councillor Adams, go ahead. Sorry.
I just wanted to say it, with the increase in cost of everything, it almost has to go up. It's hard to, I imagine it's hard to work with the way the prices are right now.
There's a lot of POs being done.
That's right. That's a lot of POs.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor? Thank you. That's carried. We move on to business. Hang on here. Some of this is information and just discussion. The first one is about the new councillor training. Are there any members that would like to participate? The township will pay for your, I guess it's called initiation fee. I don't know what is expenses to go and the cost of the course. Are there any councillors that would like to attend? You have the invitation there. I think it's valuable training. Well, okay. No one wants, Councillor Adams, sorry.
I'm always late.
You got to find that little yellow hand.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind going to the training.
You would? Okay.
Yes, if it's possible.
Great. Then we will have a resolution to that effect. We have a resolution that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby authorize the following member of council to attend the Association of Municipalities of Ontario New Councillor Training. Reimbursement of expenses will be as for township policy, and we are approving the attendance by Councillor Adams. Could I have a motion from Councillor Getty
So move.
and seconded by Councillor Fellner?
Second that.
Thank you. All in favor? Okay, so staff will be in contact with you about registration and they'll help you get registered, Councillor Adams.
Thank you.
I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby approve the appointment of Township of Seguin Council representatives to the area boards, committees, and commissions as set out in Schedule A attached. And you have that list on page 183, I believe, of your agenda package. And I believe I have talked to all of you about your interests. So could I have a motion from Councillor Collins
I so move. Motion, Mayor.
and seconded by Councillor Finson?
I second that.
And is everybody in agreement with what appears on page 184 of your agenda package? Okay.
Yep.
Do you have a, yes? Okay, great. Thank you. And I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby appoint Councillor Greg Getty as the council representative on the Township of Seguin Committee of Adjustment for the 2023 term. This comes before council every year, just as a reminder. So can I have a motion from Councillor Adams
I so move.
and seconded by Councillor Basinski?
Second that.
All in favor of appointing Greg? Thank you. And the public members, that will be advertised. So we'll see who puts their name forward. And I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby appoint Art Coles and Councillor Gail Finson as the Township of Seguin representatives to the Belvedere Heights Home for the Aged Board of Management. Could I have a motion from Councillor Fellner
Yeah, it's so moved.
and seconded by Councillor Collins?
I'll second it.
Councillor Basinski, you have your hand up.
Oh, and is Art Coles representing the township as a public member now?
He was the co-chair, as you'll see in your addendum package. And in the addendum package, the board of Belvedere Heights requested continuity, and Art Coles is willing to serve as our representative with Gail as his alternate.
Oh, yes, that's fine with me.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Thank you. And you'll be in touch with him, right? And I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby support the appointment of Jamie McGarvey to the Board of Health for the North Bay Perry Sound District Health Unit as the joint municipal representative for the Township of Carling, the Municipality of McDougall, the Township of McKellar, the Town of Perry Sound, the Township of Seguin, the Township of the Archipelago, and the Municipality of Whitestone. Could I have a motion from Councillor Finson
I so move.
and seconded by Councillor Adams?
I'll second that.
All in favor? Thank you. Okay, is this one you're gonna do?
Get it started, but really it's a whole council discussion on where you want to start and leave off.
Okay, so I'm going to turn the meeting over to Craig to talk about the discussion and direction of council meeting procedures. That's on page 223 of your agenda package, and he will take you through that.
So just to get council started, and thank you, Madam Mayor, there's the procedural bylaw, which governs the meetings of council. And that procedural bylaw has been amended a few times during COVID. Some amendments actually have not been done through a revised bylaw. That's part of what we have to do now that, I won't say COVID's over, but now that we've had a lot of practice and have time to figure out exactly how council wants to proceed. So that includes everything from the meeting start times, how the meetings are conducted, the attendance by council staff and the public. And we've given you a list of several different topics for consideration. Staff need council to have a discussion. Hopefully the members have thought about this before tonight, because we need some direction from council so we can go away and look at how to implement the directions that council give us and what we need to do as far as a procedural bylaw. All of those things would actually come back to council. We would have to give notice of a procedural bylaw amendment, and a new bylaw would be put in place. So that hopefully starts the discussion.
Okay, I'm going to act a little bit as a referee here and go down the list. Continuing electronic participation is the first item. As you know, we have had a hybrid model with the chief administrative officer, the clerk, and I in council chambers for all meetings, and the balance of council attending via Zoom. Our agents and consultants have also been attending by Zoom, and they love it. And it saves us a whole lot of money in travel for them and overtime. We also believe that more members of the community are watching our meetings, not necessarily at the same time we have them, but at their leisure. So I personally would like to see us continue the hybrid model. I'll kick it off with that comment. Does anybody else have anything to add? Councillor Collins.
I'm okay with that, Mayor.
Okay. Councillor Getty.
I agree with the hybrid model, but the question is hybrid as you've described it, with just yourself, the CAO and the clerk in council, or council members attending in council? Or is that a separate issue for discussion?
That's a point of discussion. If council members would like to attend in person, I think it could be optional. We have one challenge in our council chambers. We cannot socially distance.
No, and I understand that. Sorry, I didn't know if it was, my point in regards to that is I think it is important. I think the discussion or sharing of ideas can be limited through Zoom. I think that the continuing dialogue through council together, live in council, I think the sharing of ideas and the formulating of solutions to problems that we're facing, I think there's a benefit to that. And I also believe that the public, I know we can't social distance, but I think that it's important for us to be opening up council for public participation, if so desired. I agree. I think that times have changed through COVID. I think the hybrid model is a great model, but I think that people deserve the right to be able to come and make presentation to their representatives at the municipal council level.
Thank you. All delegations have continued through Zoom. So the public cannot speak at council unless they book a delegation, Zoom or no Zoom or hybrid or not. So we have continued to have public participation. There's no interaction of discussion between council and the public unless they've booked a delegation, and it can only go on for 10 minutes. So that rule, I believe, would stay in place.
And I understand and I agree with that, but I think that if they are making a presentation, they should have the ability to make it in person.
Okay, and I don't see any reason that they couldn't come to do that.
Thank you.
Counselor Finson.
I was just going to say that I like the hybrid model, but I would like to see people able to come into council. I understand we can't do it with social distancing now, but there will be a time when we don't have to social distance, I hope, within our term or within this next council period. So I would like to see the council chambers opened myself. I mean, I would like to see more people in council if they could attend. I like being in person. I think I do a better job in person. I think, doing a delegation on Zoom is fine for those who can do Zoom, and it's fine. I mean, I'm on a committee that every single person on that committee uses the phone because not one of them know how to use Zoom. So we have our meeting by teleconference, and it's the most unusual thing you've ever attended. It's really weird, but it's because they have no idea, and they're not old. They're like my age. So they just are not technical. And I think if they were going to attend a meeting, they might, or do a delegation, they would do it in person, but not on Zoom. And so I agree that going forward, I would not like to see the whole 4 years be us on Zoom and the mayor and CAO and clerk in the council chambers. I would like to see it go back to, if we want to attend in person, we could, and if people wanted to attend in person, they could. And when it's not social distancing again, I'd like to see it, we try to be all together, like it be a common thing rather than, worried. When we're not worried, when people aren't.
We lost Gail, but Gail, for some reason, your video audio kicked off, but we certainly got your point.
Thank you. Okay, I'm done.
And Councillor Bazinski has his hand up.
Yes, I'd just like to say that I would support maybe in the spring going back to in-person meetings. I think this is a very good format for the winter time. I can remember a lot of council meetings in the past where they were held even, they'd be late by the time they were finished. And if there was a snowstorm when you got there, then you'd have to drive in bad weather. So, I'd support maybe the hybrid model over the winter time. And then perhaps we could, when we can get more air circulation into the building as well in the spring, summer, and fall, support having the meetings with the option of in-person. And I tend to agree with the delegations and also public meetings. Hopefully there'll be, public meetings when when the next draft of the official plan comes out for comment. And so that would be what I'd suggest. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Adams.
Yeah, I'd rather be in person myself. For a while, I was having trouble with my internet here, so I didn't know how it was going to go, but it seems to be fine now. But myself personally, I'd rather be in person.
Yeah.
Last comment from Councillor Fellner.
I would like to see the hybrid model continue. I think people have gotten used to. I think that councillors that wish to attend live should be allowed to attend live. I tend to agree that if someone wants to present something publicly, and a combination could be made for very important presentations that were a large number of people would be interested in it and attending, then perhaps a change of venue would have to be made from council chambers. But I think, to Councillor Bazinski's point, I mean, the winter is probably not the best time. And obviously in the winter, a lot of councillors may tend to take their holidays, and even if you take holidays, you could still attend the meeting, which is a benefit. So I think that, it's got to be a combination of both methods.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
would be my
I
reading.
think we're not making decisions today. We're giving staff input. So what I hear is there's an interest in a hybrid model with the ability of both councillors and the public to attend when they can. So it's up to staff to figure out how that would happen. There may need to be some technological differences made here about how people could present and still be seen on Zoom, but we've given that input and now it's over to staff. The next item is meeting start time. And I know I spoke to all of you on the telephone about the potential of calling the council meeting standard time at 1 o'clock instead of 4:30. Councillor Getty.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I understand that there was a lot of agreement with that, but for me personally, I can accommodate whatever time we decide. But I think that by going to 1 o'clock, I have two concerns. One, that we limit someone's ability if they have an issue and are hoping to make a presentation to council, that we're doing it during the working hours. So are we limiting or restricting somebody's ability to come to council to make a presentation or a deposition? That's the first one. The second one is, it's great when council is made up of the same demographic that we have here, a bunch of people that are retired or semi-retired. But I think it's important that we should be looking to invigorate youth to get involved in municipal government. And if we drop those times back to 1 o'clock, you take someone out. If someone has a job and is working full time, at 4:30, a business may accommodate them to leave at 4 o'clock so they can make their council meeting at 4:30. But no company is going to allow somebody to leave at 12:30 in the afternoon and not come back to work. And I think we potentially restrict youth or younger people getting involved in municipal politics, bringing fresh ideas to our communities. And those are my two issues with the going early.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Collins.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm okay with any time. If it's 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, it doesn't matter to me. But Councillor Getty did bring up some good suggestions that about someone, or if there is going to be, if somebody wants to come to council for a deposition, fine. But that's why we're keeping the Zoom too. I mean, they could make a deposition if they wanted to. If it's not in person, they can do it through Zoom, or which we're doing now. So I'm okay with the majority. Let me put it to you that way. Whatever the majority wants to do, I'm fine.
Okay, well, I think we've given staff some input. There's no reason that public depositions couldn't be at the end of the meeting, which would take it to 4 or 4:30. So the agenda could change to be flexible. But I do want to point out as well that from a point of view of finances, we are paying a heck of a lot of money to all of our consultants and all of our staff, giving them time off when they work after 4:30. And it's a large amount of money. So part of me and part of, I think, where this discussion came from was trying to do the business of council during the business day. So I give it back to staff. I do think we need to have a way for public to appear without taking too much time off. So we'll move on to the next two items on the list. I think we've already spoken about the hybrid model and the public in person. I think the when to start will be at the recommendation of the clerk when technologically we can do that. And the whole issue of limiting who can attend electronically and when they can, I'm going to turn that back to staff to make a recommendation. I think, for instance, if we polled everybody before meetings and said who's coming in person and who's not, we would know how to set it up, but it will involve significant more communication back and forth between staff and the council members. Councillor Getty, you have comment?
Sorry, Madam Mayor. And I know these are points for staff to consider. Would it be reasonable for council to be advised, saying that it's costing lots of money? I think in fairness, the cost associated with having council meetings at 4:30 so that we can do a cost benefit analysis, whether there's a financial benefit to going back to 1 o'clock. And then the only other question I have, and I don't know whether it's feasible, but on days when there are council meetings, is it reasonable to have a shift change of the staff that would be participating? And they're the only 2 points that I wanted to add.
Just for your perspective, when we have a lawyer present after 4:30, his rate goes from $600 an hour to $1,200 an hour, plus the staff time. So we can ask for some analysis of that, but it's double for our consultants. Councillor Fellner.
My only point is I can see both sides of this going for a long time, but perhaps I think what was proposed was started at one mayor. If we started that, to me personally, again, I'm the same as anyone else. It's for this particular term of council, it's really not an issue to me what time we start, but if we started, I'm just throwing it out there, 2:30 and left all the public, the public stuff to the last, which would probably take it to 4:30. Pretty much eliminate all the overtime. We could schedule in all our professionals, before 4:30. It might be a way to achieve pretty much everything you want to achieve, just by maybe picking a time in the middle. That's my only comment. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think that's worth considering. There's nothing magic about 1 o'clock, but we do want to encourage public participation and people that have full-time jobs. On one of the committees I'm on for the pool, we have several people that work shifts and they're begging for morning meetings because they at 7 o'clock have to put kids to bed. So they want to meet at 8 o'clock in the morning when they get off their shifts. So it is different and they're all under 30.
Yeah. And I meant to just make one other point, Mayor, and I apologize, but for the hybrid model and the YouTube, I mean, a great portion of my constituents are seasonal. A great portion of them are not around in the winter months. This is, by keeping the meetings in Zoom and, the recordings available on YouTube, they can keep up with, the current affairs of the township, which a lot of them are. And, that was a common problem in the past in cottage country where, nobody knew what went on in the winter, only in the summer. And my only comment is since we've gone to this method of meeting, that seems to have disappeared. So,
yep, I think it's a valid point. Councillor Finson, last comment on this one.
Okay, I just wanted to say I like the idea of the middle road, that maybe the 2:30 that Councillor Fellner had suggested, and that would give us incentive to keep it within 2 hours. So 2:30 sounds good. Give you incentive to get her done.
Okay. The next item, it says here on the piece of paper, limit the number of meetings per year that any individual may attend electronically. I'm not sure we need to tackle that as much as admitting that when you're here, whether you're on Zoom or in person, it's attending a meeting and it's justified. I am hoping that we won't have a lot of absenteeism of either kind. And this next one on the next page, presiding officer to be in person or electronically. If public in person suggests presiding officer. That's the role I'm playing here. And as each motion comes forward, I have to sign each one. Whoever's sitting in the chair signs each motion. And then after the meeting, does longhand signature for other things. I personally believe that the presiding person should be in person. We had one mess last year when I tried to do it remotely. But I'm going to take you down to the next 3 down, rotating the chair position occasionally so that each counselor chairs one meeting per year. And I say this because I think Gail has done it for me. And I think it's a good learning. I won't say training, but I think
it was wonderful.
It's useful to have you chair at least one meeting a year each. And that would be in person. So whether you sign up for which meeting it is or how it gets done, we'll talk to staff about that. But I think it happens in many, many municipalities. And sometimes the chair rotates every meeting. I'm not suggesting that. I think we figured out we have 20 meetings a year. So once a year, each of you would sit in the chair position. Does anybody object to that? I see none. So there we go. Staff attend electronically and delegations attend electronically. I see no reason to change that unless there's a huge presentation and committees and stuff. I think it's working well and people like to be able to do it. And we are still trying to be as flexible as we can with our staff in terms of working from home and juggling children and sick kids and everything else. So unless people object to that, we would still allow delegations and staff to elect. Planning Act, is that any different really, Craig? No, it's not really when we're doing it. Changes to the current AV setup to accommodate. Over to you, Craig, and the team. We did do some modification at the beginning of COVID to allow for this, but if delegations are going to be in person, we're going to have to do something to change in the council chambers. You want to talk about it?
Just a very brief statement, really. That's on there so council's aware that based on this discussion, some of the things and recommendations that could come back could have costs attributed to them through our learning experience over the last year, 2 years, and then to put whatever combination of people in person may require some upgrading to the audio video setup.
And that you will likely see in your 2023 budgets. The next one, rotating the reading of the land acknowledgement each meeting, moving from Ward 1 through 6 plus me. Our memorandum of understanding and our inauguration started a journey, and that's all it did. And I've learned an awful lot in the last 2 months about what can be said and what meaning a land acknowledgement can be, separate and apart from just reading black and white letters on a page. And I think it would help us all if we all had to, at some point, take turns reading them, perhaps even writing them. If you're writing or researching a unique one, it should probably get approved before the actual meeting, either by us or perhaps some of our representatives from Wasauksing, to make sure we're not saying anything that's offensive or incorrect. Are people comfortable rotating that responsibility at the beginning of meetings? I see no objection. So we will set up a few to start. We probably, Ted, sorry, Councillor Collins. Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry. I really wouldn't mind saying the acknowledgement together, all together. But I'm thinking that because you're this, the CEO of Seguin and the mayor of Seguin, I think that it's a big responsibility for you to say this at the beginning of each of our meetings. This is my this is my opinion. I think it has more clout. Let me put it to you that way. It has more clout when you say it.
Okay.
And I do agree with everything. That's all I have to say.
Okay. No, that's a fair comment. Councillor Bazinski.
Well, I think if whoever's chairing the meeting should do the introduction and the acknowledgement, because that would be normally the way that it would go. So if you're going to rotate the chairs, I think then whoever is chairing the meeting on that particular day would do the acknowledgement. And I was wondering, Mayor, would it be the same acknowledgement where we say we're on the traditional lands of whatever tribe, et cetera, or would you think there would be more to that acknowledgement?
It could be either. My goal was to have 4 or 5 approved land acknowledgements that you could choose from, or if you wanted to submit your own. So we would do that, but perhaps it's a good idea to just say whoever's sitting in the chair delivers the message.
That would be my
Councillor,
recommendation.
okay, Councillor Getty.
Oh, that was, I agree with Councillor Collins in regards to your position as the CEO of the township. But I think that if we're having each going to take one turn, then I think I agree with Councillor Bazinski that maybe the person chairing it. You answered the question already, so thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Fellner.
Yeah, that's the same with me. I think you should do it unless you're not chairing the meeting, and then whoever's chairing the meeting should do it. I think that's the way to do it. I agree.
Okay, we'll get some approved land acknowledgements, and I don't think we'll start sharing the chair position until probably March or April, till we're kind of settled in as a council and using the processes. Is that okay? Now, clerk, do you have what you need from us?
We have plenty to get us started there.
I'm not sure he's delighted, but they needed direction. So we move on to the annual conference of Good Roads and Roma. I'm going to kind of put them together. For those of you that don't know, Roma is held in January in Toronto. It is the Rural Ontario Municipal Association. It's a wonderful place to meet fellow councillors and mayors. OGRA is Ontario Good Roads Association, and they are moving their meeting till April this year, but also in Toronto. Township pays for you to attend, but anybody who attends is expected to do a written report of the sessions they attend and report back to council after the meeting. So I'm going to read the first motion and ask you to consider which meetings you would like to attend. Well, and Fonum, I'm assuming we're all going to go to because it's in Parry Sound. So there are 3, but okay. I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby authorize the following members of council to attend the 2023 Good Roads Association Conference being held April 16th to 19th, 2023 at the Fairmont Royal York Hotel in Toronto, Ontario. Reimbursement of expenses will be as per township policy. Could I have a motion from Councillor Bazinski?
I so move.
And seconded by Councillor Getty.
I so second.
Who would like to, I'll tell you right now that I have never attended a Good Roads meeting, but I have attended all the Roma meetings. So I'm kind of thinking that I would like to try Good Roads, but I would encourage others to do the same or both. Is there anybody that would like to attend the Good Roads meeting? Whoops. Okay, Gail, Councillor Finson.
Yeah, I would as well, Mayor.
Okay, Councillor Fellner, and do I see your hand up as well, Councillor Getty?
Yes.
Okay. The Craig just indicated that in the past, we've had 3 counselors go to each one, and therefore they had preempted our election by booking 3 rooms at the key hotels. If we add another counselor, that's fine, but there's no guarantee they would be able to get a room in those hotels. They're probably booked. Counselor Finson, do you have something to add?
If you don't want me to go, if you want, Craig, I'm fine. I'd
It's
like
not
to
I don't
go,
want you to
but-
go, but have you ever gone to Roma?
Yes, once.
Oh, you did.
But
Okay.
anyway, no, it's okay. I'm really not comfortable driving down there by myself in January. So, and Art's not here to drive me anymore. So I
I'm
miss him.
sorry.
Okay, can we put this one
That's
aside
okay.
and do Roma? Because maybe there'll be some horse trading. So
okay.
now I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby authorize the following members of council to attend the 2023 Rural Ontario Municipal Association Conference being held January 22nd, 2023 to January 24th at the Sheraton Centre Toronto Hotel in Toronto. Reimbursement of the expenses will be as per township policy. Could I have a motion from Councillor Fellner
So moved.
and seconded by Councillor Collins?
I'll second it.
Who would like to go to Roma in January?
Jeez,
Nobody?
no.
I'll
Greg.
go. Send the rookie.
You'll enjoy it.
I'm not gonna be here.
Councillor Bazinski, would you attend?
I could attend. I was preferring definitely to attend the Phenom.
Well, Phenom, we're not talking about yet. We'll all go to the Phenom likely.
Okay.
Would you attend the Roma conference?
Sorry, when was it again?
January 22nd to 24th at the Sheraton Centre.
I could do that.
Okay, great. Okay,
So,
right now we have at Roma, Councillors Getty and Bazinski. And at Good Roads, we have Finson, Fellner, Getty, and McDermott.
so Mayor, to keep it at 3 for Good Roads, I'm willing to back out. You should go. I mean, I really enjoyed it last year. I thought it was a good.
But I have been many
a good
times.
conference.
I think I've been
And
4
Gail
years.
got a lot out of it, so I think.
Councillor Finson, we can get you a bus to the Royal York or to the Sheraton Centre.
She could go. It's in April. She could drive in April.
No, to the Roma
No.
meeting.
You just go. It's okay.
Okay.
I'm good. I'll think of something else. Don't worry.
Yeah, you can go. We're going to pay your way. We just can't guarantee the hotel. So right now we've got Getty and Bazinski at Roma and Finson, Getty and McDermott at OGRA.
Perfect.
Are we in agreement?
Yes.
All in favor? Carried. Okay, Phonom is next. That the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby authorize the following members of council to attend the 2023 Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities Conference being held May 8th to May 10th, 2023 at the Stocky Centre in Parry Sound, Ontario. Reimbursement of expenses will be as per township policy. And I'm assuming we all sleep in our own beds.
A good assumption.
Could I have a motion from Councillor Fellner, please?
I so move.
And seconded by Councillor Collins.
I'll second it.
Who would like to go?
Well, I'll go. I'll go.
Yeah, who can't go? Because otherwise I would say all of council should try and be there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not a big deal.
That's reasonable.
All in favor? Thank you. Okay. And there is a separate budget for staff to attend these meetings, depending on what the presentations are at them. So in addition to council members, staff attend. The deadline for Roma delegations is this week, and OGR is coming up. I have a bylaw, 2022-125, being a bylaw to appoint Shiloh Adamson and Rory Payton as municipal law enforcement officers and bylaw enforcement officers, animal control officers for the corporation of the Township of Seguin. It's hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. Could I have a motion from Councillor Finson?
I so move.
And seconded by Councillor Adams.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Thank you. And I suspect today, as I drove in, I saw two matching cars and their license plates were only one number apart. So I believe those are the two new bylaw cars. Are they going to look like Seguin bylaw cars, or are they going to be unmarked?
Your worship, they will be decaled. They're just getting all the accessories added here in the next week or two, and they will be decaled. A little different color with a white vehicle, so it'll have a little bit of a different presence in the community than our standard public works or community services vehicles. But certainly, yes, they'll be decaled and obvious who's coming down the road.
Yeah. Okay. Well, they looked very cute standing there, and then I looked at the license plate and said they were exactly the same, and I thought, aha, I think I've seen the two new cars. So we go on to council reports. And for those of you that are new, we each kind of report on what we've been up to, what meetings we've attended since the last council meeting. So I'll call on Councillor Finson since she's experienced at this. Okay, we kind of go Ward 6 to 1 in one meeting, and the next meeting 1 to 6.
I had a DSAB meeting since last council meeting. I was thrilled to see the sidewalks plowed in Rosso a couple of weeks ago. Now we have no snow. I wanted to say that the inauguration meeting was fabulous. Really, really lovely. I attended a meeting with Ted and Howard and Darren. We had a nice chat. and the Remembrance Day service in Rosso was really well attended. The the guy with the thing,
the trumpeter?
He was really good. The trumpeter. He was really good. It was lovely. They brought 25 chairs, and every single chair had a bum in it. So that was amazing. And there was still some people standing. So it was very, very well attended. What else did I? Oh, I had quite a few phone calls. I first want to say thank you to Seguin First Nation, to the chief, and to Adam
Corey.
Good. Is that
Adam, and also
and the
Corey
drummer.
was
The drummer. Yeah. I mean, it was just so lovely. I just wanted to acknowledge them and say that how much I enjoyed their company, and I was able to talk to them about things that have happened around here in the past. And I used to work with Dora, who is Warren's aunt. So it was lovely to have that conversations with him. I've had several phone calls about different items, and luckily staff is amazing and they've all been resolved fairly quickly. I've had no repeat phone calls, no call back. So I'm assuming they've all been taken care of. And that's all I have for this. Oh, there was a few dump calls, but anyway, we'll get to those and I'll speak with Tom, and all will be good with the world, I'm sure. And so thank you, everybody. It was a really good meeting.
Thank you. Councillor Collins?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I did attend the DSAB meeting after our last meeting on the 10th of November. And of course, after that, we had our council meeting today. Of course, you did mention at one time to me, Mayor, that about a housing committee. And being on a housing committee, other than DSAB, of course. And I set something up like that with Gail, with Howard Wesley and Darren O'Brien. And we did have a meeting in Perry Sound. It was our first meeting, and we're looking at the possibility of having more meetings, because my opinion on this is that DSAB happens to be our biggest tax levy to our township of $1.4 million. And over the years, our monies go into DSAB, but there's no, where does it go? What's it do? And because of course, the housing crisis right now, I'm thinking that we should well understand where our money's going, and that it's going into housing. So that was the reason for the meeting, and I'm sure we'll have some more.
I'm glad you've kickstarted it, and you've got the right people in your room. So I think that's a good idea.
Thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Fellner.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I as well was at the inauguration ceremonies and the same comments as Councillor Vincent. I was really impressed and appreciative of all the effort that went in, and thank you to the folks at Wissahickon, the chief in particular. I found his speech very good, very good. I haven't had any meetings since we last met. I have been a little bit involved with Park to Park, trying to get one other bridge repaired in time for snowmobile season, but I think we finally got that under sail, and one last water hole to fill. So I think both of those things will be addressed this year. And looking forward to working with the new council. And that's all I have to report.
Thank you. Councillor Getty.
I've just been dealing with several phone calls. I'd like to thank staff for responding quickly to a couple of issues that came up, and was able to pass on my appreciation to staff on the feedback that I got from the resident that had called in for the issue. I've reached out to Humphrey Public School to set up a meeting with the principal there to introduce myself, and just trying to reach out to the different businesses within Ward 3 to try to get in to meet anybody that I didn't meet while I was campaigning.
Thank you. Councillor Bazinski.
Yes, thank you. I had, as everyone did, we had a very good time with the chief and other representatives of the Wissahickon First Nation when we did our, I always forget the name of the word, not initiation, but
smudging, inauguration.
Smudging. Yes, thank you. And I've had a number of calls, congratulatory calls from ratepayers, and 3 different issues already in my ward, which I've forwarded to staff, and staff have been able to help me very successfully. And I intend to, was invited to the Christmas lunch at the airport on the 9th of December, and I intend to go to that. That's all I have to report for now.
Thank you. Councillor Adams.
Well, we have the one thing. I attended Humphrey School for the Remembrance Day celebration, honoring all the men and women who sacrificed their lives for the country. I did have one call at one dump, but the problem was solved by the time I got there, so it was great. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. And I don't have a lot of other things to report. November 8th was an airport commission meeting. And since the election, I've taken it upon myself to try and meet with the new mayors So on November 9th, I had lunch with Susan Murphy, who's the new mayor of Carling. And on the 24th, last week, I met with Peter Kelly, who's the new mayor of Muskoka Lakes, and we have lots in common with them, and I'm looking forward to working with them. November 10th, Greg Getty and I attended the Safe Quiet Lakes annual general meeting. It was virtual, but they had some pretty impressive speakers about wave damage and the technicalities associated with waves. It was really quite interesting, and it's not just us, it's worldwide. The Remembrance Day, we couldn't have had a warmer, better day to be outside with the trumpeters. The trumpeter's son read in Flanders Fields and was quite delighted. He did a great job, and he was also delighted that he got to play hooky to do that. And last week, many staff members and I attended with people from all of our neighboring municipalities, an emergency preparedness workshop where we worked through a potential emergency that went from bad to worse over the 2 hours of our exercise. It was fun, but we certainly learned a lot about what happens when you declare an emergency, or when one of the teams had a tornado, one of the teams had a washed out road, some of us had a forest fire. So it was great exercise. And then I just want to remind you that December 1st, which is this Thursday, is the all-day council orientation. And there will be a departmental orientation where the directors come and help educate you about what their departments do, but it's likely going to get put off till January just because so many people are squeezing so much in before the holidays. And I'm going to call on our CAO, who has a report for council as well.
Thank you, Worship. Members of council, not so much of a report, but rather a welcome. And I just, I know we had the inaugural meeting of council last week, and you had, as you saw, your senior staff was there and present and supportive, but this is really the first opportunity, and I guess I get the opportunity to be the spokesperson for the administration, and I want to just welcome back and welcome new and returning members of council to your first meeting, and this administration is excited to work with you. We're excited about the future. We're here to serve our community, and we do that through you as representatives of your constituency, and it is our pleasure to be here as a resource and help you however we can. But most importantly, just a heartfelt, warm welcome back, welcome new, and just a general welcome. And we're excited to work with you as we start this next 4-year term with you at the leadership table. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby receive the board and committee minutes and agendas and the correspondence as presented on the agenda for November 28th, 2022 meeting of council. Could I have a motion from Councillor Bazinski?
I so move.
And seconded by Councillor Getty.
I second that.
All in favor, receiving the reports? Gail, I see your hand up. Did you have a comment?
I just didn't hear anything about the cemetery. Wasn't it on the addendum, or the cemetery committee? Were we going to talk about that?
Do you want to? I don't know.
I don't know. It's just on my mind, and I thought we hadn't mentioned it.
In the staff report.
Yeah, your worship, members of council, the cemetery committee discussion was included in the staff report about committees.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Sorry, I must have missed it. I remember seeing it, but I thought it was in the addendum. Thank you. Sorry about that.
So I have a motion that bylaw number 2022-139, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of meetings of council, is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. Could I have a motion from Councillor Fellner?
So move.
And seconded by Councillor Collins?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Thank you. And I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby adjourn this regular meeting of council at 6:26 PM to meet again on Thursday, December 1st, 2022, or at the call of the mayor. Could I have a motion from Councillor Finson
I so move.
and seconded by Councillor Adams?
I'll second that.
All in favor? Thank you. And the meeting is